I call the meeting to order, the Board of Select meeting of November 14th. I'm Bob Carlson, the first selectman. Also, we have Selectman Brett Mastriani and Selectwoman Nicole Porter. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, are there any public comment on non-agenda items? Winona, just come up to this mic.
Hello, I'm Winona Burdine. I live at 216 Casadic Hill Road. I came really for like a public service announcement, and I think it's kind of telling that our emergency services are here tonight because this is directly related to your services in town. Over the past month, I had the pleasure of campaigning for our local election. My niece and I, we traveled 23 roads or streets in town front to back. Most of them were not main roads. I'm not counting Route 2. I am counting 184. Everything else was off the beaten path per se. I was looking for 239 houses. And so if you've ever done door knocking, you know that you start at one end and you go to the other. And that's what I did. And my conclusion is that we have a safety issue. I'm concerned about the safety issue. A majority of our houses are not numbered. The mailboxes do not have numbers. The houses do not have numbers. Or you might be lucky enough to find a black number on a tree or a carving into a rock from 1947. It is very difficult to find houses on our streets in this town. As a cop might say, it was dry, clear conditions. So this was not at night. This was during the day when it was not raining. It's extremely difficult. And I myself am guilty that my mailbox is numbered. So national research shows 6-minute call time in urban areas, 12 minutes rural areas. I spent sometimes 20 minutes looking for one house on one road because and some I just simply couldn't find. These are trifocals, but they work pretty well. So I wanted to show a solution. Here's a solution. $27 on Amazon, customized, delivered, free shipping. If you have a 2-digit number, it's only $19.99. If you have a 4-digit number, I think it's $29.99. Now, when I lived in Voluntown for a number of years, we had the same issue up there. And luckily we had a scout. And for the life of me, I can't remember if it was a brownie, a cub, a girl, a boy, whatever. Some scout did a project for a safety badge. And they did a bulk order and a bulk delivery of these signs. You could pick blue, green, whatever color you wanted. And they were able to get a price that was much more reasonable. So I think that's something we should consider here. I know we have scouts in town. Maybe there's an opportunity for a project or a badge. Like I said, I will be hanging mine. But I think this is something we should just take under our arms and try to figure out a solution to it. And if it's only $25 a house, hopefully people realize the value of it. If you call an ambulance for a stroke or a heart attack or you're bleeding, literally every extra minute is the matter of life and death. And, you know, I was out doing this for recreational, not trying to find somebody in an emergency. And I can't imagine what would happen if that was the case. So thank you for listening. If you want to talk to Tracy, I'm sure she's really familiar. Tracy is the select woman in Voluntown, and she spearheaded this project with whomever did it back a few years ago.
Thanks, Winona. I agree. It is an issue. So I will talk to Tracy and see if she gives me some background on how it went with her. And do you have any other comment on that?
I agree. It is tough, but I want to say, I think I might be wrong, but I think it was the firehouse that pushed green ones a few years ago, and they were for sale around the town.
Well,
So maybe it's something we can work with the fire department again on revitalizing that if
I
possible.
mean, I don't have a scientific, peer-reviewed study, but I'm going to say that more than 70% of our homes are not on the roads that I was on. And most of our, and one of those was 184, even in the mobile home area, they're not even, I mean, it should be, right, like 128, you can't find it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Chief, isn't there also an issue with, when you have a road like, we'll say Murphy or one of the ones that has numbers, but they'll say like Wyossup or Wyossup Lake, but they're really on Armstrong Pentway or Murphy Road?
Over the years, they've addressed a lot of those issues. But like Dan, as the lady said, people don't clear mark their driveways. As you said, there's people that have stones on the end of their driveway with a number on it, fancy stones. But when you get 3 inches of snow, you can't find it. So you go up to Trish. Trish is one of the ones where you come to the end of the road at T's. Which houses are to the right, which houses are to the left. We had to ask for signs we put up to tell us, no, XYZ this way and the other ones are that way. So a lot of things we'll see with residents and common shared driveways, the fire company asks for a sign at the end of the driveway telling us where the houses are, what the numbers are. It's kind of tough to do it when it's easy for subdivisions. We do that, but for a single home, we really don't get the plan review to see those. But any home, old or new, should clearly mark their address at the end of the driveway.
So maybe with the help of the fire chief, the ambulance president, the town garage foreman, and the board of selectmen, we can come up with a solution on how to get it best fixed. I mean, I think it is an issue. It was a big issue again, like I said, where some reason in this town, like Ruderman Road has a road called Burgess Lane. I don't know how the firemen and the ambulance know which one's A, B, C, D, E, and G, that type of thing. So it's been historical. It's been like that for years. I know when Horseshoe Circle went in recently of Babcock, I got some pushback on why is there a sign on Babcock? It should be, all those houses should be just a different number and letter on Babcock. So I think it's an issue, but I think maybe it's something we could work on. Just because we identify it as an issue doesn't, and we just ignore it, then it doesn't go away. So thank you. Any other public comment on non-agenda items? Okay, in that case, let's do minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the Town of North Stonington Board of Selectmen meeting minutes held on October 24th, 2023 at 6:30 PM at the North Stonington Education Center and via Zoom as written.
Second.
Okay, the only one difference I wanted to make, one addendum, is under number 6 where it said Brian Rathman regarding bike trail proposed and also sent a letter. Just want to note that the letter was read for the record. So I'll make that change, and if we could amend your motion.
All over again with the amendment.
Just amend it, that
Okay.
the letter was read and
So I will make a motion to approve the Town of North Stonington Board of Selectmen meeting on October 24th, 2023 at 6:30 PM at the Education Center and via Zoom with the addendum that Brian's letter was read aloud for the record.
thank you. Right, second. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 I'll make a motion to approve the Town of North Stonington's Board of Selectmen special meeting held on October 27th, 2023 at 9 AM, held here at the North Stonington Education Center as written.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, selectmen comments. Brett and Nicole, any comments?
I want to thank everyone that came out for election night. I thought our percentage of people that came out was pretty good. It seemed pretty steady out there. So I want to thank everybody. The second thing that I've been noticing lately, and I noticed it tonight, I'd like to talk about this maybe on a future agenda, or maybe it doesn't need to be on an agenda, but where we ask people to state their name and address, I worry about the safety concerns of that. So I understand before when it was just small groups at the meetings, it's one thing, but now that our meetings are public, on Zoom and broadcast across YouTube, I'm a little concerned when I hear some people, especially older members of our community, state where they live, before they speak at some of these meetings.
Is that not a requirement?
I don't think it's a law. I think it's something that we asked to do. I think I can do some more research on it for the next meeting. But, I think if we state our name, should be sufficient. I just worry about now that we're broadcasting on YouTube, when people come up and state their address, it's
I think
concerning.
it's only required at a town meeting when someone's making a motion and a second to prove that they're an elector of the town. I think
Okay.
that's the only time we have to do that.
Okay.
So we can state their name and we can omit the address if that makes you feel.
Yeah,
feel
just
com-
maybe if we decide to just put it out there that people don't need to do that, because I know on some things, like planning and zoning, that wasn't Zoom, but they asked to state your name and address. But as I see it and I see how YouTube works and that it's out there, I just worry about the safety concern of it.
It's funny, as we get more advanced, there's always new people around the corner waiting to do something bad, right? So unfortunate, but thank you, Brett. Nicole?
Yeah, I just want to publicly thank Christine for everything that you've done for the town. Replacing you is going to be quite a challenge. I've never met anybody that can rattle off the top of her head the line item, the knowledge that you've been able to gain I know Bob has said it's been invaluable helping with all of our jobs, but I just wanted to publicly thank you for everything, all your dedication, all your late nights here with us, everything that you have done, and you will be sorely missed. So thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. We are gonna get her so we are gonna get Christine for next Tuesday's meeting, and she's gonna come and make a guest appearance at the town meeting on December 4th. So, and then that'll be it. But, who knows, she might pop in some other time too. But, obviously we echo everything that Nicole says, and I tell you every day, so I'll tell you again tomorrow. Okay, thanks. First selectman comments, I just want to say that I did send you a letter, so I did a lot of thinking about last Thursday's P and Z meeting. I sent you a letter concerning, KNSA and the Affordable Housing Plan on Winter Jog Hill Road. What I'd like to do is, since it's not on the agenda this evening, I don't want to speak about it because it's not fair to speak about something and not have it on the agenda. So, let's put it on, our next meeting, agenda. If you don't mind, we can discuss, that meeting, what we heard and where we want to go with the project, if that's okay. Okay, number 7, North Stonington Volunteer Fire Company ladder truck. So Chief began talking to me about this maybe a month and a half ago. He's going to do a presentation, talk to us a little bit about tonight. It might be an opportunity that the town can put its arms around. We know we've been talking about a ladder truck as long as I've been a selectman and since we've all been in this administration. So, Chief, thank you for coming in, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say.
All right, so the PowerPoint presentation that we have tonight is going to be done by Captain Burgle. He's going to go through the PowerPoint. It's going to explain to you the need really quickly, the vehicle that we're looking at, the price of the vehicle. Then once he gets through that, I can field all the questions, and I have some supporting documentation that I will bring up and talk about things that I've presented to the Selectmen and the Board of Finance in the past.
How's this? Good? All right, good evening. All right, so what we've done, we've put together a quick presentation on some basic introduction info, the ladder itself, and then the need for it. So going into it, growth, right? For the first time, in over 100 years, the population of North Stonington has decreased. 2.8%. It's less than 100 people. We know the economy today. It's probably wide. So the town has always grown, right, since 1930. Not only the population, newer construction has grown, right? We're not building 1,200-foot square homes anymore. The average size of a home now is up to almost 2,500 square feet. In correlation with this, the town rises, the population rises, business rises, so does our call value. When I joined over 10 years ago, we were lucky to touch 200 calls a year. Now we're pushing 400 calls. Just last year, we touched 382. Insurance services office. So what this is this is an office that gets together, looks at. They kind of rate your fire department to give you a rating on your homeowner's insurance for the fire protection aspect. And the first topic here is what they say is if you have 5 buildings with 3 stories or more, or the building is 35 feet or taller, you must have a ladder in your district. We do have that. Think about the schools, the hotels, Quinlan Enterprises, Jovial Foods, A to Z Corporation, all these buildings, we need a ladder. We cannot get to the roof without the ladder. Also to receive, and then this affects our rates. So right now we're already at a significant disadvantage with our rate because we do not have hydrants in town. Not having a ladder does not help. So now moving to NFPA's recommendations, they break buildings down into hazards, right? So high, medium, low hazard. A high hazard building would be a school, hospital, whereas your low hazard is just a residential home. No matter what the hazard, they all require a ladder, even a residential home, one ladder. The higher it goes, the more ladders we're going to need. So we as a department are significantly disadvantaged because we're missing that initial ladder. We have to wait, and we'll get into that more as the presentation goes on. So operations, kind of how we respond to a call. The volunteer service is declining across the country. Fire suppression takes a minimum 4 firefighters. We follow a 2 in, 2 out rule, so we always have to be with a partner. So suppression and search, that's a minimum for 2 people are on a line to fight the fire. 2 people are in the building searching for victims. Especially during the day, kind of why we've moved to paid staff because of the lack of response. We have 2 paid firefighters during the day. We're relying on volunteers for the rest of that. We've had some calls where we're lucky to get 6. So our manpower is taking a hit. The advantage to this with a ladder truck is 1 firefighter can set up the aerial unit and get our ventilation intact. Without a ladder, we need a minimum 2 people to set the ladder up, get on the roof, and perform the cut. And that's a bare minimum. Setting ladders up is a very time-consuming and energy-consuming task. Placement and arrival. This is huge. A ladder truck should be the first truck on scene. Why? Because when we show up with an engine, we are going to lay hose wherever we need to go. Now, no truck can come up that driveway and get in placement. Once that first engine goes, no other trucks go in that spot. We rely solely on mutual aid right now, and if they don't beat us there, it really does defeat the purpose of having a ladder. If we have, my driveway is pretty long. Once that engine comes in, the ladder truck is just going to sit on the street. So mutual aid, like I said, right now we are relying on solely mutual aid for our ladders. We rely on Old Mystic, Mashantucket, Pawcatuck, and depending on the spot in town, they are going to be a 15, 20-minute response. Last year, as you can see, 26 of our 382 incidents required mutual aid automatically. That's just an auto response, high hazard building, the school, Stonington Institute, Quinlan Enterprises, where we are automatically calling for them. That does not include residential homes where we requested one ourselves. So the uses and needs in town, residential response, some roofs, some chimneys, they're too steep to get on. Some chimneys are too tall for us to even get to. We touched on the manpower, that it can take 3 to 4 firefighters just to set up our ground ladders that we use. And not only structural firefighting, the ladder trucks they're a multi-tool. We can use them for hazmat responses, technical rescues as a high angle point. Here's a couple examples in town. So the house on the left, parents' house, you see the chimney is over 5-6 feet tall. There is no way, if they had a chimney fire, for us to get to the peak of that chimney where we extinguish chimney fires. The house on the right is a house on Farm Pond Road. That roof is not only pushing the limits of our ground ladders to get to, but severely steep to work off of. And it's so tall that we can't even place our roof ladder on top of it without unsafely getting on the roof. So this is the big point: safety and survival. When we're on the roof, we're performing a task called ventilation, and this is a key component of fire suppression. This has to be done in a timely manner and in a very precise spot so that we can assist the crew inside extinguishing the fire. What we're doing is we're letting heat, smoke, toxins out of the building. If we don't do this in time, the fire can escalate quick, and it could be life-threatening to the people inside. Safety. So working off a ladder truck is much safer than physically being on the roof. 5 to 10 minutes of heat exposure, especially in modern construction, that's really all the roof needs to collapse. Not only that, inclement weather, snow, ice, being up on the roof is not safe. We've had homeowners spraying water in December on their roof to try and help put out a fire, and by the time we get there, it's ice. So a residential fire doubles in intensity every 10 to 30 seconds roughly, and can reach temperatures in excess of 1800 degrees, which is what we call an IDLH environment, that life cannot be sustained in that type of condition. Our fire gear does not protect us. These are probably the worst things that came into modern construction is gusset plates, and they're used in all modern construction. The problem with these is not for contractors because they're cheap and easy to use, but for us is they last about 5 minutes in fire exposure before they collapse. They lose their structural integrity. They have little tines on them about the size of a tack that go into the wood, and that's all they have.
Failure happens to the fire for a long time. It fails. Sensitive to state. Some people that more recently with a lot more videos on. Just have proofs failing with fire.
One firefighter and an image seen by so many across this country tonight. He was surrounded by smoke in Fresno, California this weekend, breaking through the roof. Moments later, you can see as a witness records the scene, he falls through the roof of that burning home, flames then shooting into the air a split second later. Well, tonight here, the frantic rescue effort that followed and now his condition. ABC's Aditi Roy is in Fresno.
A terrifying accident while fighting a fire in Fresno. That's Fire Captain Pete Dern on the roof of this garage, sent up to make ventilation holes. When just 23 seconds later, the roof collapses and flames explode out.
I saw a couple firefighters on top of the roof as
So that shows you the point of a roof failure. So thank you, Kyle, for the presentation on that. Well, yeah, so that failure of the roof, again, that was a single-story residence. Farm was on a single story. It doesn't need to be a skyscraper, 4-story, 5-story building to have a need for a ladder truck in the town. It's safer for the firemen and for rescue people from buildings. As you were saying, the gusset plates, like you said, little tines go into the wood. Once it gets superheated, the last 5 minutes, they pop out and all your framing of your house falls down, and that's why it collapses in and the firemen fall through. So that was one of the safety concern or issues we were trying to address. So we did some research looking for a used ladder truck. So the target truck that we're looking at right now is a 1997 75-foot Quint. So we keep referring to it as a ladder truck. This is a Quint. This is an engine with a ladder. So when we talked about the ladder need to be in the first thing up a driveway so the engine can lay in, this is both vehicles in one. This Quint engine ladder can lay a line up the driveway, has the front access, because again, you want the ladder at the front of the house so it can access a minimum of 2 sides of the structure while you're there. It accesses the structure and it can pull structural firefighting hose lines and carries up to 6 firefighters. So this vehicle would be the first new vehicle going up a driveway fighting fires if this was purchased moving forward. Understanding it's older and used, we'll get to the price and the benefits from it. So the vehicle's a 1997. Mileage is 9,411 miles. Pump hours 302. The condition is good. Our current engine, that again, we're not replacing the engine with this Quint at this point in time. We're not going to replace a 1995 fire truck with a 1997. So at this point, it would be in the fleet until the 95 is replaced. Engine 2, it's 95. It's 46,000 miles on it. 1,200 hours. Pump 173. Good condition. Big thing is this vehicle is a $50,000 purchase. If we were to go out today to purchase this brand new, I got a price last week, it's $1.3 million. With a delivery time of 4 years and the manufacturer stating 5 to 7% increase per year as you put it off. So we could purchase this next budget, say we're buying this ladder or Quint, it's not going to be delivered to the town of North Stoughton for 4 years. That is, every vendor out there at this point is giving you the 3 to at least 4 years prior to delivery. So this is the vehicle. Again, as you look at it, it's a single rear axle engine with a ladder on top of it. It carries 500 gallons of water. It has a front jump line in the front, as well as cross lays across the side for structural fire attack. Inside has the seats for the firefighters with the air packs. On the front of the truck, you see the big nozzle on the ladder. That's for elevated master stream. We have a few projects coming into town where I'll use one for a fact is the self-storage units. There's going to be multiple lined up. The one in the back's on fire. We need an elevated master stream to protect the ones in the front. If you put a fire truck up to shoot it, you're going to burn the fire truck up. With an elevated master stream, you could be above the fire, protecting all the other exposures. This could be for anything. It could be for your Bellissimo Grand Hotel. You get up on the roof, you can do a trench cut, you put a master stream up there, and now you protect the rest of the building. So there's many, many, many benefits of having a ladder truck like this. Again, here's some pictures where it's showing how they're using it in Colchester. This vehicle is in service today, responding to calls. So it's not like it's mothballed, sitting out in the back parking lot somewhere. This vehicle is being currently used. Actually, I was coming down Route 2 the other day and I saw it go over the flyover. So it's actually still responding to calls. Again, it shows you the truck set up at night, back seats. Again, it's a Class A pumper, and again, I already brought up the supply hose, cross-lay hose, firefighting lines, everything on it. Again, it is an engine with a ladder. It does everything an engine can do and everything a ladder can do in one vehicle. So instead of having to buy a ladder truck and replace an engine, you can replace the engine with a ladder truck. Or keep using the wrong terminology. Again, the purchase price they're looking for is at $50,000. Again, 1.3. They're saying between 5 to 7% increase, 48 months time late. That's need to actually be updated since last week. It's 4 years. Again, so that's what we're looking at for replacement tomorrow. It doesn't matter if we were to replace just the engine and not buy a quint. It's $900,000 to replace an engine today. The truck that we have the same capabilities that we have currently to replace it is $900,000. I don't make the numbers. I don't like the numbers, but this is what NFPA and the manufacturers have pushed the fire service to. These are the prices of apparatus today. We don't make them up. This is what they've said to us. Again, the process is I did send a letter into the first selectman regarding how we wanted to do this. Is we would buy this ladder. It'd be typically a 5-year piece of apparatus. And give us time to spec and plan to replace it, as well as engine 2 with 1 quint. So when we go out to sell it, you would sell the old quint and you sell engine 2. Going back and forth, looking at the prices, you're looking at probably of an income of $80,000 by selling your 2 vehicles. So at the end of the 5 years, if we follow the plan and actually replaced it with a new quint, the town would get basically reimbursed the money you're putting out now and some for this purchase. So that is my presentation. Any questions?
Chief, besides the 50,000 for the truck, what other monies would you need to get it up and running?
So, so on that presentation, if we wanted to, not saying that we need to, paint and letter the truck, about $80,000. Change the lights out on it, $30,000. I'm not presenting that at this time. Is just buy the truck, we'll run the thing yellow. The equipment we have in the station, we can outfit the truck with air packs, the hose. We have all that stuff in the building already. We could back this truck in tonight and put it in service. We have these spare equipment. We have extra air packs in the storage room. We have extra hose on the rack. We could put the truck in service tonight. So again, on the used quint proposal that was sent 2 ago by now, the plan, it's in writing that the fire apparatus we plan on having it for 5 years. This will basically not replace the 95. It'll be run along with the 95 until the 95 engine is replaced. At that time, the 95 engine will be replaced with a quint. Once it is delivered to us, both of those vehicles, the old quint and the engine, will be sold. And the town, obviously the town takes the money for that. As well as we're talking about a refurbishment of the rescue truck coming up. While the rescue truck is out of service for 3 to 6 months, that's our primary piece of apparatus in town that responds to basically 99% of our calls. This ladder truck will be run as a rescue truck as well as a quint ladder truck. So we could put rescue equipment on it and keep engine 2 in service as a primary out while the rescue is gone. So we're not relying on a mutual aid department to come in with extrication equipment to help us to rescue people. We're not delaying our responses. So it actually gives us that option to keep our services current at levels we're at now while the rescue is out being refurbished. So it gives you that. Again, that's the prices of, the breakdown I gave you. Again, the prices of the paint and the lighting, that is just for informational purposes only. I don't want to make any secrets. That is not what we're looking at doing at this point. Would I love to paint it white? Yes, I would like it to match the rest of the fleet. But a ladder truck that's yellow does the job just as good as a truck that's white. So I really don't care at this point. So
And Chief, you're not asking for this as part of the budget. You're asking for a separate appropriation, correct?
I'm asking for a separate appropriation. This vehicle is going to become available in December. The Colchester Fire Department has replaced, I think, 3 or 4 apparatus at once. The town was similar condition we're in now with vehicle replacements. They bonded a package to replace, I think, 3 or 4 apparatus this year. The first one comes in, which is their replacement ladder, comes in December. So this vehicle will be available mid to late December, if not early January. Again, everything hinges on the manufacturers at this point.
It's been a change of leadership in Colchester that hasn't changed what you have an agreement with the fire company if the town voted to do it, correct?
Yep.
Chief,
All right, go ahead.
as this would be an additional truck in
Yep.
the fleet, right? Can you talk to me about the space in the current building and how you plan to kind of rearrange everything to make room for it?
So we actually measured it out a couple weeks ago, and we actually measured again today. We can stack the ambulances to one side with the brush truck coming out the back. So instead of each ambulance having its own bay pointing out the building, they'll be lined up with facing forward, and then the brush truck will be behind it, which empties an entire bay for us. So it's a card shuffle game. We can move them around to make them fit. Is it ideal in that building? No. It's going to make a wall of apparatus at the furthest point of the building. But if we're living with this for 4 or 5 years, to make this work, that's what we'll have to do. It will fit.
Because I think when we were talking about this either last year or the year before, there was talk of having to kind of retrofit that back shed with heat in
Right.
order to move the trucks back there. So you feel that you can rearrange safely and keep everything in the one big building?
Correct. Because originally we were going to try to keep that engine 2 as a reserve spare piece of apparatus. That is not on the table right now. That is going to be sold along with this old ladder. So for 5 years, we're going to be tight, cramped quarters, but it'll be safe and it'll do the job.
Do we have any idea what Colchester has spent as far as upkeep and if there are things that have needed to be replaced or, I mean, obviously they're replacing it. I want to find out how they're replacing 3 trucks all at once, but what? Oh, we need to get a grant writer then. But, do we have any idea what the upkeep has been on it and what we might be looking at as far as breaking and fixing?
Right.
and-
So it gets a DOT inspection annually, a ladder certification test annually. The report was given to us. One of the outriggers, which is stabilizer, keeps the truck from tipping over when that ladder's in the air, had a failure this past year. They got it fixed. Obviously, because this is an in-service truck, so it meets the standard NFPA and standard to be an aerial device. So it's been tested. It's been in the shop, just like we do with all our trucks. It gets the same testing, everything done. Again, with this is it's about a $4,000 yearly cost to maintain this truck. Your aerial inspection, your pump tests, your servicing on it. So those are the things you're going to be picking up on maintenance of the vehicles, which we do to all of our vehicles.
So that upkeep, do you have a place in your operational budget right now that you would be able to accommodate? Because that 4,000 a year was not budgeted for in the fiscal year we're in right now.
So typically, we're having a good year on maintenance. Nothing's broken yet, but haven't gotten through winter yet. We just finished maintenance for the year, so we're all right to handle the $4,000. But as everybody knows, the cost of maintenance parts has gone up. So you're going to see possibly a request next year for an increase in the maintenance budget, which is for all the apparatus. So that's what you can see is. But this current year, we should be all right, again, as long as nothing catastrophic happens.
And I just have a housekeeping thing. If we approve this and move forward, are we looking to take it out of undesignated? And does it have to go to a town?
It does. So we have to go to a town meeting. We'd have to vote to send it to a town meeting. Yeah, that's how.
I mean, this is obviously an additional appropriation and not capital, but I think the conversation that we've been having regarding capital, and I'm glad that Gary from Board of Finance is here, is we're in a situation where we have to take a look at the most critical need and safety. So not that it would be capital for this current year, but yeah, so thank you for answering my questions.
Chief, is it going out to bid in December? Is that the time frame?
So I've spoken with the chief of the Colchester Fire Department. At this point in time, with the understanding is if North Stonington is willing to give them the offer, they're going to accept our offer. They're not publicizing the sale of this truck. In their mind, at this point, is the truck's going to North Stonington. We had a letter that Mr. Carlson sent to them with our intention that we are interested in purchasing this vehicle. I've spoken with the chief and basically says, it's your truck. Once you get the funding, it's yours. So they're not out actively trying to sell it. Town of Colchester, what he told me is the way they sell their trucks is they park it in front of the town garage with a for sale sign. That's how they sell their fire trucks. Someone comes in and buys it and gives them a number they like. That's how they sell it. So they like our number.
So would you be looking to have this truck somewhat inspected ahead of time? And the reason I ask is when you look up why they're replacing it, well, not this specific one, but they said how it was 4.5 million bond that Colchester's doing. But it says the money will be used to replace equipment with fractured frames, non-operational pumps, and trucks that failed inspection. So
Right.
that makes me a little nervous.
Right. So
reading it like that.
it can't be in service if there's a cracked frame. It would be red tag, DOT failed. It wouldn't be on the road. It can't be on the road if the pump's blown on it. So obviously the pump's fixed. We have the inspection report, I gave to, first selectman that shows the entire truck's been inspected and it's operational. Again, prior to the last day of it coming here, again, it's going to come here, it's going to be tested. We're going to make sure everything's operating perfectly when it comes in. Again, it's not like this truck's sitting in a town hall parking lot for the last 6 months to a year. They are currently fighting fires and responding to calls today. So it's an in-service apparatus.
I mean, so it makes sense to me, and it seems like it's a good fit. I worry about the replacement down the road as we work on our capital plan because we know that's coming. Now, can you just go back to the point? Why do you want to keep engine 2 for 5 years if this could be the first?
Because I'm not going to replace a 95 with a 97 because we don't stick to a capital plan in our spine. And we're going to call it what it is. I've had multiple 20-year plans, multiple 5-year plans submitted. And every year I keep changing and updating it because we fail to follow it. I have the age of the fleet now. I sent out last year of every single vehicle's age and how old they are. Originally, past regimes, vehicles were replaced in 20 years. We're pushing everything out to 30 years now. So within the next, got it here somewhere. Because engine 2 should be replaced no more than 2 years from now. And that's going to be at a ticket for $900,000, if not more, because that's, if you add 5 to 7% over the next couple of years, it might be $1 million vehicle. And if you were to buy the ladder truck separately, you're talking about 1.6 to 1.7.
Right, but you're looking at doing them together.
Replacing one vehicle for about 1.4. Again, today it's 1.3. In 5 years, it might be 1.4, 1.5. I don't know what it's going to be in 5 years. Again, it's a 4-year hold time. So we order it. I know we're not doing it next year, but if we were to do it next year, it's coming in 4 years. So no matter what we do, if we add 4 or 5 years to this truck, you're looking at, it's going to be a 33-year-old fire truck. There's not many people that drive around, 33-year-old vehicles, and then we're using this as one of our primary first response vehicles to protect our residents in the town of North Stonington.
And I understand the 97 versus the 95, but it's also a third less miles on the ladder truck than engine 2.
Right.
And my concern would be the maintenance of 2 trucks instead of the maintenance of 1 truck over those next 5 years.
It's going to happen. We're not going to put on I could see, I've been around long enough. We replaced this vehicle with a 97. We're gonna put 95 out of service, and then we don't replace this truck for 20 years. Now we're gonna have a 40-plus-year-old fire truck sitting up there. Well, we just bought you a new ladder truck. It's not a new ladder truck. It's a used ladder truck. This is a $50,000 purchase to immediately address the needs for the safety of the residents in North Stonington, as well as train our fire department. Our members have never had a ladder truck in this department. They all need to put hands on and practice using this specialized piece of equipment. There are about 6 or 7 of us that work in career departments that use them, so we're gonna be able to train them. I'd rather them ding and dent a $50,000 fire truck now than a $1.4 to $1.5 million one when it comes in. So it gives us, and it lets us know when we go out to spec the new one, exactly what we need. Maybe the mid mounts are better than the rear mounts. Maybe we need 100 foot on a single axle instead of 75 foot. Maybe you need 300 gallons of water instead of 500 gallons of water. It allows you to train and practice with this and put it in service to ensure that when we do buy a new one, we buy the right thing, because that's gonna last us 30 years.
So Chief, we share your frustration with the capital process, and I think that's why we've had much earlier talks with Board of Finance and us, and we want to move towards a saving plan so that in the capital budget each year, we put money aside for designated apparatuses for you so that in 5 years, the money, at least a fairly good chunk of the money is there instead of continuing to kick the can down the road. And now we're dealing with a 30-plus-year-old piece of equipment that you guys are fighting fires on. So we are moving to that plan. And that money can only be used for that. So that's why we've had kind of a renewed effort to have organizations in town that the town funds put those plans together and each year put money aside for that. So we're trying to rectify that. We realize there's a lot in town, a lot with emergency services, a lot with the school that we've put off because each year we have to cut something in order to make it palatable for the taxpayer. There may come a year fairly soon that we have to increase taxes. That's not something that we want to do, but we have to let the taxpayer decide what they're willing to pay for things like emergency equipment.
So Chief, thank you for the presentation. I think something we've talked about for a number of years. When you came to me with this, it seemed like this might be the best opportunity we've had in recent years to even look at it. The letter I sent to the first selectman at the time, and I'll send both Nicole and Brett a copy of that tomorrow. I explained to him that there was a process, and he would know that because he's a selectman in another town. Fortunately, he's not the current selectman anymore, but it was he knows there's a process that we have to go through. And I think, again, my own opinion, and just one of 3, that I think this might be the best opportunity we've had over the last number of years. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I just would like to get a little more insight on that vehicle. So I go back to their fire department's presentation to their town and their selectmen. And when it comes up with the L-128, and it says it's 23 years old. It was supposed to be replaced in 2017. It's beyond its service life of 20 years. It's got rot frame rail issues and its annual pump test failures. And it's 23-year-old black iron pump piping. I'm not sure what that last part is, but I just worry that we inherit something that's going to cost those pretty big dollars in maintenance over those next 5 years.
Right.
Without somebody.
It comes down to the town putting money into it and actually purchasing a vehicle that's new. We're trying to cut corners and get something in this town to protect our residents, and we're looking for the cheapest thing possible, but we don't want any problems with it. No, a new one's 1.4, but we're going to question a $50,000 purchase. Yes, it's not going to be perfect. We know that. It's not new. It's 23 years old. That's what you get for $50,000 at this point. If you want to spend, $300,000, $400,000 for a maybe 10, 15-year-old one, you can do that too. And it probably have less issues. With this, their presentation, and it may have rust on the frame. They had to have addressed it to have it in service today, and the pump has to pass certification for it to be pumping water. If it's not, that's be my first call to their fire chief tomorrow morning when I get to work, and this is what you said, but that's not what the paperwork you sent me says. Did he say one thing for the presentation for Colchester to get the new vehicle, and what the paperwork there that the mechanic said are two different things?
Right.
So no, there's play the card shuffle to get what you need, but
And I know you want to do your due diligence in
Right.
it too, because you don't want to
I've
headache
been there.
that
I've
you have
looked
to
at
deal
it.
with either.
right, I've been there, I've looked at it. It's not a parade piece, I'll tell you that much. It's a used fire truck, but it will do the job to serve the residents until we have the budget in place to purchase the new one to replace the two pieces of apparatus.
So with your 5-year time frame to replace, but 4 years for actual replacement, we'd have to get a new truck approved by the town next year to meet your timeline.
Yep.
So we'd have to look at getting 1.4 million approved for a 4-year order to meet the time frame.
You'd
Which
have to
would
do
be-
that, or you look what Colchester did to a bond package, which you could also just, not just the multiple fire apparatus that are coming up to the end of their life, as well as you could look into power department vehicles that need to be replaced. You make a bond package to address our shortcoming on addressing our capital plan for years. Address the issue, make a bond package, take care of our problem, and then create a capital plan and actually stick to it. Save money, put it towards it. Every year we say we're gonna put money away towards a vehicle. The first thing that gets cut out of the budget in the capital is that first payment for that vehicle. We talked about it for years. I mean, Christine and I have gone down multiple times for vehicles. We're gonna put away X amount every year until it's times due. It comes up, it's cut out of the budget. It's cut out of the budget. We don't address it. When it comes up, now we just finance the tanker for 10 years. It's not my decision on how to finance and how you find the funds. I'm just saying we need to find a way to address not just the fire company's capital problem, the town-wide capital problem.
And we're working on it, but I do think this administration has been working on, if we say we're gonna put it away, and you're right, you don't know who comes after us
Right.
or what happened before, but that is our intention of saying we need to commit to this and we need to put certain dollar amount each year. What worries me is unless we do a bond package, we have to put $280,000 away each year for this purchase in 5 years. But I think we need to dive a little bit more into that with a 4-year lead time to make sure it all works in our capital plan, knowing that it's a 4-year lead time and
That's no matter what we replace now.
Right.
Or even if, obviously the service truck, if the funding gets approved this year for the second half, I mean, what's the lead time on the pickup truck right now? If you ordered one. It's 18 months to replace the service truck that we started budgeting last year. So we budget this year, it's not gonna be till middle of the next budget. So that's where we're at with all the vehicles. So we can't replace anything in a timely fashion, but we need to make the purchase. Because if we keep pushing it off, it's only gonna get worse. The purchasing timelines and everything going down the road. The question is, I don't know if you may not answer this. A town capital long range plan, do we have one approved and accepted? The town of North Star?
we're working on that right now.
So my question is, if we have a capital long-range plan that's accepted and voted on by the taxpayers, and it's a set number every year we need to put in it to maintain the vehicles and accept it, it shouldn't matter on who's in the driver's seat at that point. That should be the accepted capital plan that we run forward, correct? Is that how that works?
You would think that's how it works, but it's
But,
not.
Yeah, so the town only accepts the budget on a year-to-year basis. It's not the townspeople aren't voting on the long-term plan. It's not like the LoCIP 5-year plan that has to go to a town meeting. It's just part of the actual budget and it's just that one snapshot year.
Right? We look at it and we approve it
Right,
for
but
5 years.
are you able to put something forward like that for the residents to approve a long-term plan?
So I think that part of the problem with that is gonna be emergencies that pop up, right? So the
Understood.
2010 flood, we can all in this room and Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen agree that this needs to be our 5, 10, 15, 20-year capital plan, but then something happens
Understood.
and we have a huge chunk of money that we have to designate, something's got to give.
Right.
But that, I think, as much as we can, barring emergencies, that is something that we want to have.
Again,
I don't know if the townspeople have to physically vote on it. But I think that between Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, we can agree that this is the plan moving forward.
Because I've been in the budget process in town for over 15 years now, and I've been through this many, many, many times. We present a budget. Again, I go through 6 layers of budget prior to come to be voted on to get a budget for fire company. We go through many layers of cuts. And every year it's a battle for every dollar. And at the end of the day, we're trying to protect the residents of North Stonington. We're not looking for shiny trucks on the hill with a new firehouse. We're looking to what we can do best to protect the people and the visitors of the town of North Stonington. That's what this all boils down.
And I think you have an incredible showing here tonight just for this presentation. If we move this forward and we go to a town meeting, that will be critical because we're in a situation where it's the must-haves, not the nice-to-haves. This clearly appears to be a must-have for safety, and we just have to help the townspeople understand that.
Thank you, Chief. Something else, Kyle?
Yeah, if I can just go into what Selectman Mastriano was talking about. I didn't read Colchester's presentation. I don't know if they specifically cited anything. I think I just want to clarify. I think they may have been talking about the 2 frontline engines they're replacing.
No, they listed out by each slide is per vehicle.
Yeah.
So that's what it said under that vehicle. What does make me feel a little better is they also wanted to go to a 100-foot platform. It looks like to reach more buildings in town. So maybe that helped push the 75 out, but just so we know, the 100-foot one that they just ordered was 1.53.
Yeah, I mean, because right now we currently have a firefighter who works for Colchester. That's their frontline piece. They still run it.
Right.
The 2 engines they're replacing are from the 70s.
Yeah.
Open cab, old trucks. And, you know, we don't have a check in hand, but we'll go up there with our engineer, Jason, look at the truck. Yep. All right.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this topic? If not, let's move along to the 25-year capital and 5-year capital plan. I think what we have tonight is we have representatives from the Highway Garage, Donnie and Alan. They're going to present their plan for us, so we can get zero in on what we want to do with this capital plan before we give it to the Board of Finance. Thank you, Don.
I share the chief's frustrations with the capital plans. You guys know every year I put one into, and every year that's the first thing they attack, like the chief said. And unfortunately, I don't have any good news for you. I'm gonna break this down to where it's probably a little easier to understand, and at each section have a point where you can ask a question. Ask a question. So I'm going to start off with the fiscal year 24 capital request for the highway garage. And what we're asking for is a new dump truck, truck 3, which is 310,000. A hook lift international, which is truck 17 currently for 280,000. And then the fuel island replacement as a 6-year, $50,000 a year put aside for it. And I'll talk more about that. So first, the request for the 2 trucks, 3 and 17, and then to start the savings for the tanks replacement at the highway garage. So I'm gonna talk about truck 3 first. Truck 3 is a 2005 International 7500 series truck. It has 43,822 miles. It's an 18-year-old truck. It's primarily utilized for hauling as a hauling truck in the summer months, plow truck in the winter, and then hauling includes all materials for construction, cleanup projects.
Truck 3 was down this year from April, right at the last snowstorm, all the way to October with a electronic issue for the computers, which had to be replaced at $4,980. The truck has rot throughout the cab, frame body, due to years of sand, salt application during the winter operations. This is the oldest truck we have there of the dump trucks. And the state bid was $262,538. So I brought in some pictures showing you the areas where we're concerned with the rot on the frame, the rotting on the frame, the cracks in the frame, in the areas where the rot is. Again, under the cab mounts, under the body, that area there, the body of the truck itself rotting out. Areas again where concerned with on the truck, the rot areas. And the frame being significantly rotted and motor. Is that the motor? So the quote we got was for a truck, that one there. This is the truck that we had a quotation done on for the state bid of $262,000. Questions on this? Good. All right. This is going to be the truck number 17. This is our roll-off truck. That one's also a 2005 International. It's got 63,135 miles on it. Truck 17 is also 18 years old, utilized to haul dumpsters to multiple departments of the town, not only the highway department, but we also do stuff with the school and the rec center. Anybody that needs a dumpster, we drop it off. We primarily use it for hauling the chipper and the chipper box when we cut trees with the tree truck during the summer months. And in the winter month, it plows Kingswood Meadow, or is with the sander on. This truck also was down from July to September, also with an electronic issue with the computer. This one was $4,130 to replace. You get that back up. This truck also has severe rot throughout the whole truck, and you'll see in the pictures, again, because of the winter operations, this truck. And the state bid on this price was $227,038. This is the floorboard of this truck, which is completely rotted out. Where I have that white sticker is where the driver sits in this truck. This is the driver's side. This is looking up from the bottom. Again, where the white spot's at is where the driver sits. We actually use a street sign to repair the floor, put it over the hole. This is the passenger side of the truck, which is on the left side. You'll see where that floor has rotted out. We just recently found that problem when we did the inspection on it this year. On the right is a body mount where that holds the cab on the truck. It's completely rotted and snapped off. It has rot in those two areas where those pieces there, you can't even weld them back because it's rotted that bad. And then the frame on the truck rails where the containers are loaded onto is actually warped and bent. This is the quote, the state quote for the price of the truck, for the $227,003. Questions on truck number 17?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Good.
So as we talked about the transfer station and the truck for the compactors, why can't we use the truck for dual purposes?
So that truck will be signed to the transfer station to haul all the dumpsters up there. This truck hauls our smaller dumpsters for the other products that we use,
But-
including the tree truck.
But the larger truck should be able to do the smaller roll-off.
If we have the larger truck out with the tree crew cutting trees, then we're not hauling garbage. And we're not hauling metal. That truck is specifically assigned to the transfer station to haul everything up there. This truck does everything at the highway garage, including going with the tree crew. And construction debris and, demolition debris and hurricane stuff that goes out for all.
Right, I understand ideally that would be perfect to have two, but if you
Correct.
had to get away with one, you
Well,
wouldn't be able to
Then
utilize
we
them
lose a
both.
truck on a snowplow route. This truck also plows snow. And the other truck would be used to haul other stuff.
No, I get it, but I always refer back to
I
we're a
understand.
town of 5,000, that we need to, the fire department needs things. We have to figure out ways to utilize our equipment.
Right.
In different ways.
I understand, but the problem is if we pull from one department to cover another department, now we're short over there. If I have a tree crew out with a tree down across the road and they're cleaning up the debris, I'm not hauling garbage. If I need to haul garbage, I'm not bringing the metal to where it needs to go to. I'm not in the future hauling bulky waste.
So if we have, you had a quote on a new truck, new roll-off, correct? That was the quote for a new roll-off to fit.
Correct. That was this one here.
Right, so is there a possibility of finding a used roll-off truck, if we're only using it once in a while to follow the tree crew, to plow, to,
We could look into that, but again, like the fire department, you don't know what you're gonna get. And unfortunately, they're stuck to higher standards because they're in public safety where we wouldn't be. So if we went to a used roll-off and we would go to let's say we went to another garbage business, it's not gonna go through the same scrutiny as a fire truck. So we could get a piece of junk. I mean, not that we want to, obviously have a mechanic take a look at it, but you don't know.
The new truck we priced out will actually use all the containers we already have, the chip box, the 2 dump trucks, the sander we already have. The only thing it will not use that 17 uses right now, we've upgraded the plow to a regular 11-foot hydraulic plow rather than an electric over hydraulic plow. So this one was priced out to fit everything we already have. If you buy another one, there's too many different styles. You have to find the truck with that style hook. Is the problem.
How many different vendors did you price this out with? Just
Right now, you just talked to Freightliner, right?
So they priced out 3 different body companies.
right, but you're only pricing out Freightliner.
They're on state.
So even with the state bid, there's other manufacturers,
Yeah.
things like that.
So that's
In
priced-
other states. So that's what kills me sometimes too, is we don't look at some of the other states, and there's municipalities that they'll go up to Mass, they'll go halfway across the country and bring home a truck because they saved considerable amounts of money. And when they break it down versus the labor to pick up the truck or the transportation, it still was quite a cost-saving measure.
So the only thing with Freightliner is the new truck we're getting for the transfer station is Freightliner. I'm trying to stick with Freightliner only because they're in Hartford and Berlin. And if we get a Hino and then we get a Dodge and then we get a Freightliner, we get a Mack, then every truck uses different parts. Everything's different. I tried to price out every truck with the same motor, same oil filter, same hydraulic filter. So instead of buying 10, we just buy one number for one filter that fits all the trucks.
But in the beginning, we didn't look at a manufacturer that would suit us best and best pricing across, to stick with one. So we went with Freightliner.
Yep.
But did we look at the other ones
We did.
before you
Yeah, so
committed to
on the
Freightliner?
roll off truck, not the hook truck, because we bought a roll off for the transfer station. So that's 24-foot rails. This truck is a 12-foot rail. So I mean, the difference in the boxes are huge. But we did price out a Mack, a Peterbilt. We priced out a Freightliner. Freightliner came back with the best quote with putting the body on.
This is, I track the maintenance on the trucks, how much we spend per year. This is where we're at for the fiscal year 23. This was, this is 24 with where we're at both those trucks, 4,000, obviously both for computers on those 2 trucks. Again, you'll see they're both 2005, the oldest trucks that we have up there in our fleet. And this is the lifetime. So I started tracking these things in 2019. When I took over the budget when Steve left, so I was able to account for how much these trucks cost us. And over the 6-year period, around $20,000, $21,000 for trucks. So we're talking about 21,000 being truck 17. Now the big problem. We're requesting to set aside funds for the replacement of the underground storage tanks, which are known as USTs, dispensing system at the highway garage. It does diesel, it does gasoline. A UST currently in place at the highway garage is a life expectancy, there you go, for 30 years. The tanks and the system was installed on 8/10/2000 and must be removed, even if in excellent condition, by 2030 per DEP rules. The yearly mandated cathodic testing showed that the UST and all the piping, which are double walled, was in excellent condition with the zinc anodes functioning at proper levels. They come out and test them every year. It's part of us having those underground storage tanks. The USTs and piping both are double wall protected, which were required at that time. The system is currently utilized by the Highway Department, Senior Center, Fire Department, ambulance, SCARA, and the school buses. Estimated time for complete replacement with an above ground system UST, which means we don't have to fall under the state's law for the underground storage tanks that we have to do now, because right now we're required to do a monthly report, keep it on file, and we get inspected for that. Al and I both are what they call AB operators, licensed by the state to do the testing. And we have to comply with the DEP rules for that tank.
We also have to pay for a separate insurance policy for our underground storage.
Correct. So it's approximately 6 weeks from breaking ground, provided there's no contaminated soils when they get below where the tanks are at. If there's any contaminated soils, it might go longer. So from the time we break ground to the time that they get it in place, you're talking 6 weeks without a fuel system up there for the highway garage, the ambulance, and the fire department to use. An estimated price, which we just got, was $338,000 to $400,000, depending on if there's contaminated soils or not contaminated soils. This is a UST inspection report done by the state of Connecticut. I said we'd get annually inspected by DEP, showing the life expectancy being 30 years and showing that when it was installed. So DEP and the state knows exactly when this tanks have to come out of the ground. The current system that's in place up there right now is where you see those two covers that I'm pointing to is both a diesel and a gasoline. The new system is going to be a single-sided pump system with the tanks up against where the above-ground storage tank is going to be at on that side. This is the bid from service station equipment for what they said they would do and what they would pay for, and then also what the cost would be if they had to remove the contaminated soils. Basically an estimate on today's prices. It doesn't mean this isn't going to change like the fire trucks will. It's going to change in the future because of everything going up. Questions on this disaster?
We got a copy of this presentation.
Yes, so I will save this as a PDF and email it out to the selectmen and have it in the capital folder.
Thank you.
This is not something that we can go off state bid for. It's very limited to the amount of people that can do this installation. Again, we are just suggesting that the board, the selectmen, and the Board of Finance let's start now. Because if you start now, 6 years from now, you'll have $300,000 that you can go off of. It might be $400,000 by then, but it's not going to be as bad. You know, $50,000 a year, and $50,000 is a low number considering what the total budget is. And if you put the $50,000 away a year in 6 years, then you'll have the money in place for this replacement. This is going to happen. There's nothing you or I or anybody can do. And like I said, if it's in perfect condition, doesn't matter if it passed the test, it's still coming out of the ground.
Since this is in town, does CHRO get involved in this at all or not? Not.
That's only if it's using state funds.
Okay.
So if it's completely town funded capital, no.
Thank you.
The other thing we did not have a calculated in here, there is a way we can rent tanks, portable tanks, while this is down. The problem is where we're going to put them. So we haven't looked into that aspect of it yet. And did you give us an idea of how much the tanks would be to rent? They didn't give us any idea of how much. She was going to look at it and she didn't get back to me. So, and the tanks are very limited to the storage tanks as far as when they have them on the ground, when we can use them. Depends on where they're doing a job at the time.
How many weeks will it be down? 6?
6 weeks. Hopefully it'll be in the summer when the school buses aren't running, but you still get the fire department's going to need the fuel, the ambulance is going to need fuel, the highway garage is going to need fuel. And that 6 weeks is saying without any contaminated soil. Who knows what's going to happen to those tanks 6 years from now? The cathodic cathodic test could come back that we have a leak there. And then once that happens, hopefully it stays within the 2 walls, but if it doesn't, then you're talking bigger money to get that contaminated soil out of it. Right. Yeah, we would have to get it pulled out of the ground for a failure right off the bat, but this is just saying, giving you the heads up that definitely in 6 years it come out of the ground. And like I said, the zinc anodes tested out real high on what they did the test on, and the conductivity on them were phenomenal. So that they're still in good shape. It doesn't mean that the metal can't fail anymore.
Okay, let's continue.
All right, going to talk about capital request for the transfer station.
Donnie, what are we talking about now? So.
Transfer station.
You gotta go 2 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna break. Thanks.
Largest roll off that we all around.
14, 6. That's at the box. Yeah, to the box. But like you said, we have one of those that completely rotted out, and we were able to rebuild. Yeah. The problem is when the floor fails and the side rails fail. That's it. That with the hat. Oh yeah. Doesn't get any better. Yeah, no problem. You're good now. No, I didn't need it. No problem. All right, so request for the loader. This thing comes up for the last 6 years. I've been trying to get this loader replaced. This is a 1998 loader. The current status of the loader is that it's got 16,000 plus idle hours, leaks, transmission leaks. The transmission slips, and we were able to put some quick chemical in it to help hold it in place for now. The fuel racks need rebuilding or replacement. The AC is not working. The pins and bushings all need to be rebuilt. The seats shot. The door panels are rusted and rot areas needed to be replaced in parts, and then sanded and repainted for a total rebuild. So per Volvo, since the loader is 25 years old, now it's 25, 26 years old, the parts are getting hard and difficult to get. You have to order these parts directly from Japan now. In 2022, I was asked to get a quote for a new loader for Volvo, through Volvo, and it's a 70H, and the price was $353,742, but through Sourcewell, which is a state bid site, it was $199,511. 927, Alan went out, got some bids. He got them to look at a John Deere loader. The list price was $347,000, but through the Sourcewell, was that through Sourcewell too or no? So the regular price was $266,524 for a new John Deere. And then he went to Volvo, and again, this is through Sourcewell, which is the state bid. It's 348,842. However, they take 43.6% off because we're a municipality. So for 196,737. So it's actually cheaper than it was in 2022. So here's the infamous loader, the transmission leaks, the main. I know, the main piston leaks. Nothing got any better, Gary. Engine oil leaks in the two areas. Now this is the biggest problem. The pins on the machine is what holds the pieces together. Pins get wore out, pieces get sloppy, and you're more concerned with fatiguing the metal that's around it to the point where it snaps off and breaks in half. This is some of the rotted areas on it. Again, the seat and mostly you guys know about plastic components and stuff. After so many years, the oils come out of them, they just start to break and shatter, and this is the problems with some of the plastic pieces we have inside there. We don't have a door piece on there anymore because that rotted and cracked, and then the door wouldn't open, so we had to take the panel off, so you have to reach the window at times to get the door to open, which is not safe because you're standing on the ladder there, and thank goodness nobody's fallen off and got hurt. Again, these are the two main pins that are in the machine. If these fail, the machine does this, it goes in half. So the driver would be looking at the bucket at some point, and hopefully he doesn't get killed if it does happen. Again, oil, engine leaks. This was the email that Matt from Volvo and I went back and forth on. This was the Volvo deal in regards to the price to rebuild it. So they wanted a shop rate $155 per hour just to look at it, $155 per hour, and we had to ship it up there. It was $500 each way to send it up there, so $1,000 just to send it up there. And then they were going to charge us $155 per hour just to tell me that it was silly to rebuild it that year of a loader. And that's what he said there. And it didn't make any sense to him because the parts availability was a huge issue. Again, this is the John Deere price that Alan got. The top price there is the 266 is what they said they could sell it to a municipality for. And then this is the part of the Volvo bid, and that's the Sourcewell price of 196. Questions?
So instead of the 260 in the budget, you're looking at 196.
Correct.
196,737.
Correct. That's
Right.
what the Sourcewell price was.
But I think Alan had information from that as of January 1st, 2024, it was going up. So that was why we left the slightly higher number. So the fact that none of this equipment will be purchased until at the very earliest, July 1st, 2024.
Yes.
We did put
That
a
is-
little bit in the numbers because we want to make sure that we actually have enough to purchase the items.
Hopefully you get lucky and it went down like it did after 2022.
It seems like a lot
Yeah, I
to
thought the same thing.
have in there. Okay.
All right, continue.
All right, last thing I promise. So we're requesting a upgrade to the current standby generator to accommodate the new compactor system. The current generator is not capable of handling the installation of the two new compactors with two compactors running at the same time. If a power outage comes along while the transfer station is open, we have to close the transfer station because we wouldn't be able to pack the garbage that's there. So we got it up and back, so we got power back. The current generator is only utilized to operate one compactor, bay doors, and the electronics in the office, as well as including the heating system. So I had Bonner Electric come out. We just recently did this because we weren't really sure, and then we found out, yeah, this is the problem. So option one was to keep the current single phase type generator system up there, and that would be $42,700 for them to install it. Dig a new trench, install a second fuse panel in there for the second generator, because right now we have 200 amp service running in there, and you would need two 200 amp services to serve both of these compactors. The option two was to have use a three-phase generator, because these are three-phase systems at a cost of $52,950. And the three-phase generator does not include Eversource estimating to bring that three-phase power to the transfer station. On 11/7, we reviewed with the site with Bonner Electric, and they determined that they needed to upgrade, and three-phase would be the best to upgrade it to. They advised me they would be preparing the two estimates, as you just saw. Single-phase generator that right now steps up with a phase converter, and upgrading the current panels, electrical panels is what we have right now. The three-phase generator without converters, and then two new upgraded electrical panels, like I explained. The converters will be the most expensive part of this upgrade if we stayed with single phase. And Eversource advised Alan that they would need more time to research the possibility of bringing the three-phase to the transfer station. Right now, it's about 2,500 feet away from the transfer station on Winnebago. And they would need to bring it up there, so that would include new poles and wires. How much would it be across the town? It might not be any, because now they're getting a better service up there. But we don't know yet. They're still gonna talk to us about it. The engineer to go out there and look at it. So I'll have more information in the future. This is the Bonner price for the two options. And it's the other part of the contract, if we decide to go with them. And then questions on that?
I have a different question. Christine, so I know we did mention the bulky waste closure of 25,000. Do we have can we look at a two-year window snapshot? I know revenue can't offset expense, but it can in reality, just can't do it officially, right? So we can't put revenue towards something. Can we get a 2-year snapshot of what we're bringing a lot of money into the transfer station now? What that looks like, kind of like the Board of Education does with the students coming in from other towns. They know they can't use it, but they say, hey, we're bringing in $300,000.
Yeah.
What's the transfer station bringing in a 2-year window, because your stickers obviously for 2 years? And what's bulky waste? Does bulky waste offset the 25,000 that we put aside into the transfer station stickers, help to offset some of these capital improvements?
So this fiscal year so far, we've already brought in over $50,000 for the transfer station stickers. The money that was brought in for July and August will be split, and half of it will go to deferred revenue for next year, because it is a 2-year sticker, and anything collected September 1st on will be truly just this year. We've already brought in about $4,400 in bulky waste for this year. We're only 1 quarter into the fiscal year. So I can't guarantee that it will stay at that rate. But even if that's a third of what we bring in, then that brings us to about $15,000 a year for that. So if you're bringing in 25,000 for stickers and 15,000 for bulky waste, you're bringing in 40,000 a year.
And I think, Donna, you had mentioned that bulky waste has been picking up again. So it's now that the dust has settled, the people that didn't refused to come in and pay for bulk waste are now doing it. So we're
Right.
seeing an increase, correct?
So I'm seeing about right around anywhere about $300 to $400 a week coming from the transfer station. Sometimes higher, sometimes lower, but yeah, the bulky waste is picking up again, and they are paying.
So are you saying that the way the system is now, we can't install the compact?
We can install a compactors. The problem is you can't run 2 compactors at once if you needed to run both
Right.
compactors.
But a lot of times, the majority of the time, you're not running them both. You're not
You are.
compacting at the same time.
You are in the winter because you got to keep that oil hot. You have
Wait.
to run them in the winter
But it's
because,
just when you're pushing the button and it's compacting it.
but the converter is what is running all the time. So the single phase power is coming in, it's going to a converter, and then it's converting single phase to 3-phase. So the machines will run.
Right, but they're not utilizing that energy at the time. So we could be utilizing what we have now for a period of time.
No, it's still, you can, let me get this correct. You can, but you have to shut it off. The problem comes in the winter, you'll hard start them and you'll start them and they'll pop the panels.
To me, this is something we should have known when we did the whole compactor presentation and the full expense of those compactors. I feel like it's a surprise on our end that without this, we can't install what we were already presented.
That's correct, but we didn't know about this till I actually had Bonner come up and look at the system we had in place and say, we can do it this way or we can do it that way. They prefer three-phase, but three-phase generator is only gonna work if we got three-phase power coming up there.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Because the Bonner quote is for a generator if the power goes out. So isn't this only if the power goes out? The current electricity we have can run the system as is.
Correct, we'd only have to change the panels and bring a second line in, which would be a lot cheaper.
So worst case, if we don't approve this,
This is
This
just if
year,
the power goes out. This
shut down
isn't general
the
operations.
transfer station on the days powers are out,
Correct,
worst case.
correct,
Okay.
because we can't compact.
Okay.
So when I was looking into all this, we can use the transformer, the step-up transformer that we have. You can't push both buttons at once.
Right.
So I mean, if you hit one and you gave it the whole cycle time, go back and forth, went to the other, waited a minute, hit it again, you can do it. When I talked to the electrician the first time, not Bonner, Donnie had talked to Bonner, met with them. They said they'd rather see a second one for more powers and you could run both at once. So if you brought in two 200 amp panels, you could run both at the same exact time. When the power goes out, the generator we have now only runs the lights, the garage doors, and the heat. It can't run the transformer. I was up there. I shouldn't say that. It can't run the compactor. I shouldn't say that. The one weekend I worked up there, when we were doing stickers, we had a problem where the power went out, the generator kicked on, and I just hit the button and Donnie yelled to me, "Stop it. The generator kicked on." So I was told that it will kill the generator if we run the compactor while that one's running now.
Right.
So when we put two compactors in, we're pretty much shut down. Or we could use the 40-yard container, but 40 yards, as we know, not packed, isn't going to go very far on
Right.
Saturday. You'd be lucky to get 2 hours of garbage.
What's the generator we have at this building that's not utilized anymore? Is that usable for any?
It is a gas, and I believe it is three-phase. Natural gas, correct. But I mean, you could put a converter in it, convert it over. I know,
Right.
but again, it would be for if the power was out. But we also we're running propane up there now for our heating system. So the tanks are there. Yeah, we have to go to bigger tanks.
In your time with the town, can you remember a time when we've had the power out up there for longer than 2 days?
Yeah, the flood and then hurricane, we're up to 7 days.
So the implications of that are the garbage just sits there. We can't compact it. We can't do anything during the course of the day.
Basically, the garbage would stay at your house because we couldn't take it up there.
Oh. Well, that's less of an issue. People
Yeah.
can,
We would just keep the transfer station closed.
okay. Well, I mean, I understand that, but if the entire town is out of power, essentially,
That's worst case
people
scenario.
aren't, yeah.
And I've been here when the power's been out and it's gone out for maybe 8-10 hours.
So this is something though we could plan for over a few years to get to
Yeah,
that
it's just
Okay.
making you aware of that this is a potential problem.
Okay. Right, I saw that, so that's why I was a little confused. Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm good, good.
Does
I have some questions on a few of the things.
Yeah, go ahead.
that- So I've been involved with this town for quite a few years going through the budget cycle. So the likelihood of $900,000 in capital out of the highway department is, I don't want to be pessimistic, but I'd say slim to none of all of that going in for this year's capital. So if,
especially, not to interrupt, but I will. Especially when you take a look at the other asks.
oh yeah, I didn't even want to get it. I was just,
Yeah.
no, but
I mean, that's what I've been kind of doing as everybody's been talking. I've been kind of going down and trying to see what and where we're cutting in order to make, right? Because we keep saying must-haves, not nice to have.
Right. So in that
yeah.
regard, if we're looking to plan and put things over the few year period, if there was one thing that you had to do a full purchase on this year out of that list, what would that be?
I would say it'd be truck 17
Over the loader.
over the loader. Yes. I mean, the loader's a nightmare. I mean, and we're still taking a chance with all the pins being rotted as much as they are, but it is at the transfer station. It's not like it's at the highway garage being used for an everyday thing, but it is used.
And we have one at the,
We have
Don't-
one at the highway garage.
that we could bring up if there was some sort of, it's not ideal, but it would be. So, and just,
So 17.
is
and
that the
50
hook lift or the 10-wheel plow truck?
That's a hook one.
Okay.
So 17 and, excuse me, and the, tanks at the highway garage is a must then.
So we're gonna be up there Saturday morning, correct? Us and whatever members of the Board of Finance that can join us at 9 o'clock. You'll be able to show us
Yep.
some of these things that we can look at truck 17.
Yep.
You show us the gas pump, I mean, the tanks.
Yep. Well, I can't show you the tanks, but I
No,
can,
I know,
I
I
can
know.
show you the
We
life
know.
expectancy reports that we got from DEP.
Got it.
And it's mandatory. It's something we cannot avoid.
And what's the turnaround time on that hook lift?
Alan or Deck,
9 months. I can check again on my emails.
and again, that's just the truck with the hook lift body on it.
So I think as Brett and Nicole made a point, so we have the highway garage, but we also have the fire company, the ambulance, and everybody else's capital on hand. It's gonna be a tough road, and we know that we're trying to get better at it, and I know that the number we're gonna have to
Again, you
be.
guys, I don't have to tell you, this has been kick. I mean, I probably won't see the loader.
Well, you just
my
kicked,
lifetime.
you just kicked the loader, not us.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're asking me what I really think that's more important to me, if I got a guy riding around in a loader with the pins are worn, or I got a guy riding around where he might go through the seat onto the body of the truck, yeah, that's a problem. So that one there, and in all fairness, we do undercoat our trucks every year, but the products have gotten better over the years. The stuff we were using when Steve was here, we didn't use anything when I first got here. Probably about 5 years in, it was when we started realizing, they got to start doing these trucks. And the stuff we were using was a vegetable-based product. It was new. It was, and we used it, and then we find out, years later that it was only good for a week. So basically, every week you're doing the trucks, and it didn't get done, and this is why we got the problems we got.
We just
We're
did,
better now.
didn't we just do our trucks?
Yes,
This year for the
we're
winter?
better now. The stuff we buy now from Romar is a heavy product that stays on there. But it's
Black, yeah. So do we do those ourselves every year
Yeah.
now? Is that the
yeah, it
plan?
takes about a week for them to do all the trucks.
And is that the waxy type,
No, it hardens up.
oh, it does hard? Yeah.
So all the other stuff was either plant-based or animal fat-based. This new stuff is an oil-based stuff. It sticks longer, gets hard. It protects the trucks longer. The other stuff was, like I said, was a week, and we didn't know that till one day one of us read the can.
All right, thank you, Donnie.
Yeah.
And Nicole, anything else?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
I know, no, actually not for you, Donnie, thank you. I know that we had a figure from Board of Finance that, like an estimate of what we might be, do you
Yeah,
you remember
it's
that?
between
number?
500,000 and 600,000.
Okay,
Between 500,000 and 600,000.
okay. And then, okay, thank you.
I just wanted to add to Brett's real quick. We and Donnie decided 17 would be more important. Monday mornings, it goes and dumps the light bulky waste up front every Monday, no matter what. It dumps it, so it's empty for the week. We try to chip trees once or twice a week. The school usually wants a can at least once every other 2 weeks or so when they're cleaning out or doing stuff. That truck gets run a lot, sadly. I mean, the miles are down because it doesn't go far, but it does get run quite a bit.
And you can't go with a smaller roll-off truck.
So that's pretty much the smallest one. I mean, the only one we could go with would be like in a mason dump, which then you'd lose your weight. I mean, our chipper, I think, weighs almost 5,000 or 6,000 pounds. So, I mean, you put that behind like the service truck I drive, it doesn't even like it. And then you didn't even put a load of chips in it. I mean, you're packing probably 7 to 8 yards of chips in the back of the truck. I don't know the exact weight on it, but it's very heavy. I mean, that's a low pro truck. We expect this one out as a bigger truck, only for a better plow. Better in the snow because the little tires are horrible in the snow, we found out. It holds the sand better because we're still running sand. Just the weight of everything combined. I'd like to weigh it with everything in it and know exactly what it weighs. I mean, I bet you we're right at the GVW or even possibly over, which I hate to say.
Okay, thanks. We can move on.
Please.
Okay, perfect. LoSiP 5-year plan, do you want to just do this, Christine?
So I'm gonna share it on the screen so that people at home can see it, and I need someone from the highway. Go.
No, but the people at home can.
That's very small.
The people at home can see it.
Oh, too big, too big.
So the 5-year LoSiP plan for we're doing 23, 24.
Yeah, so this is the 5-year LoSiP plan, 23-24 through 27-28. We need to approve it at a town meeting. And
So we're looking at the transfer station compactor, is that one? Okay. We're looking for 108,678, which the fund balance will cover that. Is that all right?
okay, so the first year is $108,679 from LoSiP. So that's using the prior year LoSiP funding of $34,763 and the current year funding of $73,916 for the $108,679. The second year, fiscal year 24-25 would be to chip seal and crack seal Ryder Road for $56,902. And
That's at today's prices.
at today's prices. So these are estimates. We got estimates from New England Asphalt
Right.
for this, and this is the 5-year plan has to be approved at town meeting, and we update it every year. So the only projects that would be actually completed this year are the transfer station compactor upgrades. The 25-26 is Tom Wheeler Road. 26-27 is Ella Wheeler Road resurfacing, and 27-28 is Northing Wheeler Road. We will have this in the packet for the town meeting so that everyone can take a look ahead of time and at the meeting.
So basically, we're estimating what we think we're gonna get from the state, what we already have from the state, and what it's gonna cost to do these projects over 5 years. It can change. Each year we can update it.
Yes.
Because of,
And
We try to get as close as we can
Right,
to what the
correct.
state funding is going to be.
historically, we've only gotten around 48,000 from the state for LoSiP. But in the new biennial budget, we have $73,916. So that's why we did drop back for the 25, 26, 26, 27, and 27-28 to that 48,000. Because we don't know at that point.
that's where we used to live.
That's where we used
Got
to
it.
live. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And those are current prices as of for
Right. There's
now.
no, sometimes when we get these, especially not so much with the 23, 24, but anything to do with the roadways, sometimes we get what's called liquid escalation, where the price of the oils have gone up for the chip seal, so he charges more.
Got
I think I think Patrick wasn't that bad on his. His was like
No, this-
7,000 on
We didn't
300.
have any liquid escalation on
Not
the
last
current,
year.
the,
I'm
on
talking
the
the year
project we just
before.
did. It was about 10.
Who
10,000.
did Miller Road? Who did that last round of chip seal?
So that was done by New England Asphalt.
I want to say I feel like they did a great job as a.
Well, they're
Yeah,
new. I mean,
compared to what we've
again, they
seen
came in the
now.
lowest bid. That was off the state bid. They were lowest on the state bid. They came in and they were new. We knew, I didn't know anything about them. So we gave them a shot. There was a couple little problems here and there, but they came back and fixed it.
So each time we get to one of these projects, we're gonna go up a bid again, correct?
Correct.
Because these are just estimates.
Correct. Yeah. It's based on what I do is ask the salesman to come out and give me a price. Because I have no idea, what their price is for that year. And they don't tell you. It's kind of keep it a secret. And then all of a sudden you find out when they come, what they're charging per square yard. Now there is a state bid on it. And everybody bids for this area, and New England Asphalt was the lowest on the state bid for that project.
And if we go to do a project and there's not enough funds in LoSiP, we can do it out of Town Aid Road to complete the project, or we can use town road maintenance. So we have multiple line items if it happens to exceed what the state has given us for LoSiP.
And since-
And you'll see sometimes, not to interrupt you, Bob, but you'll see sometimes on our LoSiP plan, we are higher than what we're getting from the state, and we do plan on pulling those from one of those two other accounts to cover the difference.
So you said, so since the state funding CHRO comes into play when we hit what number?
50,000.
So anything over 50,000, we have to go through CHRO, and our subcontractor has to be
So-
qualified by CHRO.
Yes,
correct?
but and it's the total project cost. So even if we were only getting 48,000 from the state, if the total project cost over 50,000, then we would still need to follow CHRO guidelines. However, in last fiscal year and the current fiscal year, there was an exemption for certain paving projects. So if that exemption, it gets voted on every year, and if it stays in place, then there's paperwork that needs to be done before you start the project, and then your project can be exempted from CHRO guidelines, but there's very specific stipulations on how that can be done.
So the problem comes into play on when they go through the state bid, they do not get vetted by CHRO before you get the project. So we went through, you can ask Christina, a lot of these gray hairs came from the last CHRO project that we did, which we just went through hoops. It took us almost 4 months before we finally got a CHRO vetted agreement with them to bring pasture.
Yeah.
And
and-
it doesn't apply to, if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't apply to this compactors.
Right, because it's not a construction project.
Correct.
But with CHRO, it's the individual project. So basically, the contractor has to do a plan for every individual project they did. So even if we had the same contractor doing 5 projects in North Stonington, they would have to complete 5 separate plans with CHRO. So these are state regulations. They've been in place since 2017, and they're just being diligent on enforcing them.
So we just need to approve the LoSiP plan, correct? So I'll make a motion to.
Yeah,
approve-
I can still, we can have discussion.
Make a motion to approve LoSiP plan, fiscal 2023, 24 to 2028.
Second. Big discussion.
I just need, a little bit of reminder / education as far as what kind of a project constitutes and we can use LoSiP money for. Obviously, I'm seeing lots of road surfacing. Is there anything, but it's local capital improvement plan. As we're looking at that capital list, is there anything on there that can go towards LoSiP? Because in my mind, chip sealing Ryder Road, no offense to anybody that lives on Ryder Road, but that to me, with life and limb, falls below other stuff. But I'm assuming there are requirements as far as what we can use LoSiP funds for.
So there's a whole listing on the state website, but basically some of those categories are roads, sidewalk and pavement, sewage treatment plants, sanitary or stormwater sewer lines, public buildings other than schools, dams, bridges, flood control, water treatment or filtration facilities or mains, solid waste facilities, public parks, capital improvement plans, emergency communication systems, building security systems, including school, veterans memorials, thermal imaging systems, bulky waste landfill projects, which is why we're using it for our compactor plan, conservation and development plans, AEDs, floodplain management and hazard mitigation activities. You can't use it to buy a truck. We did look into that. Just so you know.
You were reading my mind.
The planning of municipal broadband network, bikeway and greenway, land acquisition, technology for school, technology upgrades not for schools, and hazardous tree removal or trimming, which I think was recently added into LoSiP eligibility. But you can't use it to buy a truck. You can't use it to buy a fire truck. Those kinds of things are not.
I'm just looking at some of the selectmen capital, things that we have on there. You know, computers being one of them, knowing that things will be cut significantly. I'm just wondering what, like, you know, just do all those chip seal roads take a back seat that we could possibly put?
Well, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought sometimes we just take out road projects that would have been in the budget and move them over to LoSiP. So I would think it'd wash to a certain extent because they just, I mean, Donnie can answer, but I think he pulls them out of what was planned
The
out of a
operational
budget and puts it into LoSiP. So we would just be doing the same thing, just changing the items, I guess.
list of when we did upgrades to them and whatever we did to them, maintenance. And I try to stay within that list. Because as you know, I mean, a lot of things determine a road failure. It's base, it's the sun, it's the oils that come out of it, the amount of traffic's on there. And I don't know if you've gone down Ryder, but Ryder's has a lot of potholes come up, and potholes are indication that the oils have started to come out of that material and it's time to put a covering. So that's why we picked Ryder Road.
Oh,
So-
I don't, yeah, I don't,
So one
Yeah,
of the,
I
one of the things that's specifically not allowable is furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So anything that's movable furniture, fixtures, or other equipment that's not, has no permanent connection to structure or building or utilities. So that would be computers. So there,
But there are a list of things that we could put in here instead of roads. It just, we're taking it from one and moving it.
right,
In regards to Nicole's comment, like we
I
could
don't know
say,
things that are in our current capital forecast plan that could be moved.
town building maintenance, no? Would we have to have a plan?
Yes. So basically, when we submit the 5-year plan is the 5-year plan, but when we go to actually do the project in the spring, we have to say, this is our quote for this specific item, and this is how it relates to LoCIP funds. So that's why when we've done the presentation on the transfer station plan, there are specific items that will be used, that will use LoCIP funds to purchase, because they are, the compactors are not moving from the building, the electricity to hook up the compactors, all those kinds of permanent fixtures, rather than the truck or the roll-off
Yeah.
containers in those items.
Okay.
so what about any of the stuff? So like you talked about, safety. But like turnout gear, you take that with you. So I'm looking at like
Yeah, that would constitute equipment, right? I'm not sure that there's anything else. When I first looked at it, I heard IT. I mean, granted, it's only $14,000, but the computers under the selectmen, I mean, certainly I'm looking at things that we know are gonna need to be eliminated.
So we could do townhouse repair, farmhouse repairs, then correct, because it's owned building and it's repair.
No, because it's a historic building, and if you're doing a historic building, you have to meet state historic preservation office guidelines on any upgrades you're doing to the building.
So we don't even have anything. Why do we have nothing?
We
in-
have, land acquisition fund.
But
So-
you're not spending the funds. You'd have to spend them.
do we have to approve this tonight to go to
the
the meeting?
The
the
LoCIP
LoCIP?
5-year plan, you can wait and approve it next Tuesday. It just
Yeah,
needs.
I mean, I'm not really seeing anything
I mean, so.
that we could
what I-
possibly.
What I will
fix.
say is, you've already additionally appropriated the funds from LoCIP for this 108,000 for next year. So I say, yes, absolutely look at it for years 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Because we amend those each year.
Yes,
Correct.
this has to be voted on every single year at a town meeting. So the one that we're presenting now is very different from the one that was approved last year.
So to answer your question, we could approve it tonight knowing that we can come back next year and update.
Right, because I think we're all on the same page that the compactor improvements that we talked about, that 108, that's this year. And we were all on board with that.
Correct.
So it's
And
really,
that was approved at town meeting.
right, so it's really those next few years that we're
Yeah.
concerned about. So we
Okay.
do have time to do a little more research on LoCIP and what technically we can use it for, because Nicole, I think you're right. We should look at some of those other things maybe going forward and saying, okay, at least have a list of what can be considered under LoCIP, and then if we need to move stuff
Mhm.
that way, we can. But I'm in the dark with you on that, because if we don't know exactly what can go under LoCIP, we're kind of.
Christine, if you went through this list, would you be able to, not tonight, would you be able to pretty much highlight each thing that could be considered LoCIP?
I mean, she read it.
I
She read them off.
don't think anything
And-
in
and
here.
I'm
The
not
only things that I
seeing
would
anything.
recommend would be, so now hazardous tree, limb, branch removal of non-utility related trees on municipal properties or within a municipal right of way has been added to LoCIP. So you could take that out of operating and not have, I think there's $20,000 for tree maintenance. in the operating budget. So you could move that as part of what you use for LoSiP. But that's not gonna help your capital. It's only gonna help your operating.
Correct. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion on approving this LoSiP plan? So we can move this to town meeting? Okay. And then all those in favor of approving the LoSiP plan as read, say aye.
Aye.
As we're done with LoSiP. 25-year budget calendar. So we
I
have
haven't
them.
recuperated from, last year's budget season. We're already looking
never
at the
stops.
calendar.
The year 25, I said 25 year, the year 25, I meant to
It's
say,
okay.
yeah. So I was looking for my 25-year budget plan, but I didn't see it. All right, so we have a plan. This is basically, it's very similar to the one that Nita Kincaid came up with a million years ago, and we've just kind of adapted it to the dates. It gives us a starting point. Is there anything that you think that did not work over the last year or so that you'd like to change? You think it's okay to start with? Once we started, we did change some things over the course of the plan. Is there any holidays and anything going on with the school we should know about I think Christine tried to look at all the different calendars and see what could cause this plan to change. I know last year, I think the April vacation changed the plan a bit. So is there anything you could think about that you'd want to change, or should we go with this just to start and then see if we have to move it around after?
Yeah, I think on our side, it looks all right so far, but I do want to stress that this is technically the Board of Finances owns this calendar. So it's
Correct.
really them that do it. We can request certain things, but it's Board of Finance that owns the,
No, agreed.
Down.
And they can adopt this calendar.
So I wanted the selectmen to review this because I know there had been discussion as we were talking about capital and budgets that you weren't sure if you wanted to have the presentations by the groups happen at the Board of Finance meetings or if you wanted them to present to the selectmen. So that was why I wanted to have you view it before I gave it over to the Board of Finance in case there was any discussion or change on whether those be Tuesday or Wednesday presentation.
I'm fine with the way it is, but that's just me.
I'm actually fine with the way it is too.
And there was a request from the Board of Finance that I do a compiled calendar that incorporates what we've been trying to do with the capital plan, with the budget schedule, so that they have one comprehensive. So basically it's going to be a full year calendar that starts in July and goes until May. But I will make that a separate document. So there'll be one combined and one separate.
and are we still looking to do our capital before this budget cycle?
There was a request from the Board of Finance that they have your capital best draft for their January 3rd meeting.
So we should put that.
So we have the one meeting in December, which I think is the 12th. And we have a meeting on the 21st next week, and that's pretty much it. So we could, on the 12th, finalize our capital plan. We can discuss it on the meeting on the 21st, next Tuesday. And we could finalize it on the 12th.
Are there any?
We could also call a special meeting if you want to, but
Are there any other groups that we need to hear from regarding capital?
Are we gonna hear from the ambulance?
well, we'll see them on Saturday. Logan will be there. I spoke to him, but do you want to have him come and give a presentation, or? They are gonna come during budget season, but we can have them,
Right, but
we can
if-
talk to them on Saturday if you
Yeah,
If
want.
but
we're
we have-
making cuts by
Yeah.
January, I think we need to, and then
They have a decent amount on here. I think that I personally would like to meet with them before the January 3rd.
So why don't we talk to him on Saturday and see if he can come on either on the 15th, or if he can come on the December 12th meeting.
yeah, that'd be great. And then regarding some of the school stuff, the tunnel repair, I know we talked about that being a a concern that we should look into addressing? Is there a way to get some accurate numbers on that?
So we're gonna try to act and discuss school capital.
Well, the tunnel isn't school, so we've asked for the capital plan, and that's part of it. And the tunnel, I don't know, we don't really know whose responsibility it is, because we
So-
haven't decided that.
Bob was going to talk to the building official, so he needs to do that.
But I don't think he does. So I did a little research, and if we're doing general repairs and we're not bringing it to a certain level, we don't need to go to the building official to see if we need to update it to code if we're only doing repairs to bring it back to as is. We're not looking to do major upgrades.
So is this something we should actually look more towards grant money to do this versus going through capital?
I mean, I don't know, but it's in the capital request, and I thought we talked about that being one of the concerns that should be looked at for capital at one of our previous discussions.
We can discuss it. I don't know if it has to be discussed tonight, but we can discuss it between now and the time we hand this to the Board of Finance, but so where's the $15,000 number coming from?
I have no idea.
The
So that's why I'm
$15,000
just asking.
ballpark was created by the Board of Ed. They have no quotes, they have no estimates, they don't know what actually needs to get done. It was a number picked out of thin air.
I thought it was something based on what Peter did research on a few years ago.
From what Troy told me, it was a number picked out of thin air.
So those are things if we're gonna be starting to come up and vote on our capital plan and have to give that to our rough copy to the Board of Finance.
So
in
should we have
a
someone from the
month.
Board of Ed come and explain where those
Yeah,
funds-
or do we get, I don't think anybody will be able to explain it,
I think we need to get some quotes from.
have someone look at it, yeah.
I'm missing something, in my packet because all I see for the school is the tunnel and the sports van,
Yes,
That's all that's
Yeah,
there.
that's all
You're not
that's there
missing
for this year.
but oh, sorry. My bad.
You're missing the other 1.7 million.
That's what I was seeing, but that's the total.
yes, that's the total.
Okay.
That was the
I mean,
auditorium,
must
the
be
swimming
pages
pool.
Missing in mine.
Well, it is, and it
Alright.
also is tough because you don't see the fiscal year above the school numbers. But who would we go to get actual
We go to
Idea of
the
what needs to be
school and
repaired?
the school.
But they were
goes to
saying
a vendor.
but that's a town project, not a school
Yeah,
project.
I think we need to talk to.
Well, then it
a
needs to come out of
stonemason
the
or
school
whatever.
capital plan then, right?
And
I mean, it benefits the school, but it's a town project.
Right now, it lives in school capital because the school is the one that put in a request for it.
Is it something that our highway department can look at and say, well, this looks like it needs some kind of.
Yeah, I don't think.
But I think it's, so from what I remember hearing, it's basics. It's the edges of the steps. It's things like, it's some lighting.
So,
It's-
Alan, why
I
don't we
think it's
take,
anything structural.
So we'll take a little trip over there in the next couple of days, myself and you, and we can just pinpoint some things that would be beneficial to fix so no one gets hurt. I
Yep.
think half the stairs now are caution taped off. You can't be on half the stairs and things like that, but I know as Brett's saying, we're not trying to bring it to ADA compliance. We just,
I mean, that'd be impossible anyways, but.
We just don't want
Uh,
someone to fall down the steps because
Yeah,
the
I mean,
edge is all
I
broken.
can go tell you the steps broken as much as you can go down and look at it and be like, that's a slipping hazard. I mean, a tread's supposed to be 7.5 inches, if I remember correctly, or 8 inches. I mean, if it's not 8 inches, then technically it's not the code. I mean, I'd have to look up codes. It'd be easier to call somebody in and say, hey, is this to code? And if it's not, and we have to cut it out and replace it, because even we just fixed that one step, it's still fixing it. So now it must be brought to code.
why? Typically, when you do some job, unless it's more than 50% of the overall job, then it doesn't really go up to code.
Yeah, I don't know what's broken there.
This is
or
why
what's
we need to
bad.
talk to the building official.
Yeah.
I don't think we do. And I
Yeah.
don't want to bring in extra people that we don't need to complicate. So we talked about talking to the building official 2 meetings ago.
Mhm.
And now here we are, and we're not any farther along.
I haven't spoken to him. That's what I mean.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, when I hear from the Board of Finance, they want to know first week of January, our capital. And
Do we have to
can-
pay for the building official to
No,
look at
he's
it?
a salary town employee, so that's why.
Then-
but it can open up a can of worms.
Well,
little bit.
then, but we have to, like, we have to do things for
Gary had his
legal.
hand up.
Mark that down, that Gary said that was brilliant. So, I mean, he comes in on Monday and Wednesdays, I can talk to him tomorrow, I just ask him to look at it.
I
for
mean,
me.
he's our employee,
He is.
so
Well, he,
I would just like to know what we're dealing with.
I can ask him, what is the minimum repair work we can do before we have to bring it up to ADA compliance? How about that? He
Okay.
says you can fix some steps and do some painting and you're okay. But if you rip all the stairs out and build new stairs, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask him that question.
All right, so did we decide that we would try and have the ambulance,
All right,
leadership
so
come?
we'll talk to him on Saturday and ask him if
Okay,
he can
yeah.
come by a future meeting.
All right.
The meeting that you guys are having on Saturday is an official meeting, so if he answers all your questions appropriately at that time, you don't have to have him come, but it
Okay.
just depends how
True.
depth.
Okay, so we can bring our budget packets with us to when we go on Saturday. Okay, we done with the calendar at this point, which we weren't even talking about?
Do we have to vote on that to move it forward to the
No.
Board of Finance?
Yeah.
No?
Or,
are we just putting in that January 3rd?
I'm gonna add all the capital stuff that's already happened and what they'd like to see happen into it.
And when do we want to, so if that's our rough capital for January 3rd, do we have a timeline that we want to say, this is our capital?
When we have to go to Board of Finance with it? No?
But we don't know when that is. We just, I know we talked about having it done before the rest of the budget.
so the last meeting we have,
Decide.
unless we add a meeting, is December 12th, between December 12th and January 3rd.
But I guess it's up to the Board of Finance if they say, hey, if you can present it February something, your final capital, then they can add that in.
And they may be looking for the draft, I don't know, cause I can't speak for them, but they may be looking for the draft, but then want the final as part of your regular budget. You have the presentation from the assessor as to what the grand list is gonna be on January 17th. So you may wanna wait until after you have that number if there's gonna be some big change
Big-
in the grand list.
I just think part of our discussion was we don't want to get into the cutting capital because during the budget cycle, so we wanted to get that capital done where this is our capital. Now we build our budget knowing this is our capital.
Yeah. I think our first meeting in January, we haven't adopted a calendar yet, but I think our first meeting, it might be January 9th. And actually, their first meeting would be after that, I believe.
Theirs might be January 3rd if they choose to have one. It would be the 3rd and the 17th.
Was
They go
the,
first and third.
was the 12th near our deadline for the departments and commissions?
That's what it was last year. Like it was that Friday,
Okay.
the second Friday in January. It,
I always want to just make sure that commissions have a chance to meet, discuss and vote. So if we're asking, if the emails are going out December 13th,
I gave a verbal heads up to EDC at their meeting that they should have on their December agenda, their budget, because they'll need to vote on it at their January.
so can we just move that up? And why can't we send that out this week?
Because we don't have a form to complete for the budget. The
So
Board of
what about-
Finance hasn't discussed that.
The forms we used last year aren't.
The Board of Finance hasn't discussed it. They may want to use the exact same form, but they may not. So I can send out a heads up email that this will be the deadline and
Right.
forms will be forthcoming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like that, just to give them, because we know how, whether there's quorums or no quorums. I always say that we forget that commissions have to vote on their budget. It's just, can't be the chair that just comes up with the budget.
So you're gonna do is kind of like a save the date email, basically.
Yeah, so if that's the hard, fast deadline of the 12th, at least of January, at least they have their all their December meeting instead of waiting till the 13th to get the email.
Okay. So that's what you're gonna do. Thank you. If there's nothing else, can we do tax refunds at this point?
Yes. All right.
Thank you, Alan. Oh, watch it, Jim.
I'll make a motion to approve tax refunds in the amount of $6,069.88 to Antonio Amaral, Paul Ames, Mark Bernasconi, Glenn Garish, Richard Menard, Barbara O'Brien, and Jack Watson.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Second one there, Rep.
Yeah. You're not on, are you?
Hold on, you might be on the second one. I
Me
don't know.
neither.
All right, and then another tax refund totaling $1,790.95 to the Thomas Maine Trust, Stephen Sandry, and Toyota Lease Trust.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Old business, to say that I went up and met with Best Tech along with our town attorney and clerk of the works. Explained our situation, and we're waiting to hear back from Best Tech, which we have not heard back yet. Vacancies and appointments. I have no appointments. We'll have some at the next meeting, hopefully for WPCA and Hewitt Farm. But as of tonight, I have unfortunately, two people that are leaving boards. Margaret Leonard sent in her resignation from affordable housing, and Kevin Geary is sent in his resignation from inland wetlands. Correct? So, all right. ARPA funds update. There's nothing really that's changed. Plan conservation development. Talked to Julia today. She's working on it. She's probably going to look for a short extension for maybe 2 or 3 months, which isn't a big deal. We get that. She's waiting for something from EDC, and she's much better shape right now with mapping than she was a few weeks ago. She sent to the Planning and Zoning Commission the draft of what the final, pretty much final POCD will look like. And she's going to have a meeting with, once that new board gets seated, probably early January, to get a hearing for the town to see if the town will adopt it. Now, I've seen the rough draft. I don't know if you guys have a copy yet, but it's just online. But
I can send them the draft.
could you? Okay, yeah, it looks pretty like a pretty good job. So
Where are we on budget with that?
I think we're below at this point, aren't we, Christine? Extremely below. Yeah.
But there's more hours to do, correct?
There's more hours for her, but overall, we're extremely under budget because we didn't pay for certain items that we thought we were gonna have to pay for as far as data and maps.
Good to hear.
Yeah, she was able to get quite a bit of help with the Council of Governments and other groups like Sector and so on.
Can you remind me, do we have the town meeting set?
No.
No.
We're gonna talk about them.
Okay.
That's why we'd like to have a special meeting next Tuesday so that we can call for the town meeting to be held on December 4th.
Okay.
Which is the day after the Christmas light parade festivities.
And farmer's market and many.
And it's the Sunday of craziness in town.
Good.
Okay.
Holiday Sunday in Northstone.
Is there any public comment by anyone that would like to say anything about anything? Gary, Charlie, Use call available. Sarah, any public comment? Alan? Actually, you can't. You're not in the, you live in Preston. You can't. All right, so yeah, good job. We just said a bunch of numbers and. Oh, it's decided, it looks a little bit like, what was it Waldorf, the Muppets, the two guys, the old guy.
In the balcony, yeah.
All right, hearing no public comment, so if it's okay with the Board of Selectmen, I'd like to cancel our meeting on the 28th since I'll be out of town for a conference that I'll be in town that later that night. But just have our meeting on the 21st so we can call for the town meeting on the 21st. As well as discuss a couple of things we talked about earlier this evening, if that's okay. And other than that, I look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, the time now is 8:48. Or close enough.